Another shooting in our city leaves a young man dead. We're back at the scene of last night's shooting in Scarborough. Detectives believe it was targeted.
Also tonight, Toronto's paramedic service is reviewing its response time to a fatal weekend shooting which left a 15-year-old boy dead. This after a 911 caller was on hold for almost 7 minutes. The mayor calls it unacceptable.
And Peel police are calling it the largest drug bust in the service's history. $50 million worth of cocaine off the streets after a year-long investigation. We'll tell you more about Project Pelican.
And if you see a herd of goats in the city this week, here's why. The animals have been assigned the task of helping manage an invasive species. We've got more.
You're watching Live at 5.
Good evening. I'm Bakari Sabbath.
And I'm Lena Latifat. Thanks for joining us and welcome to Live at 5. A deadly shooting in Scarborough is the city's third in less than a week. It happened last night in the Eglinton Avenue and Markham Road area.
Let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, who continues our coverage. Beatrice.
Bakari, Lena, in just a few minutes, we should have the photograph of the victim up on the screen for our viewers to see. It was released by police just a few minutes ago. His name is Jordan Thompson. He is 33 years old, and police told us earlier they do believe that Thompson is from this area here in Scarborough. This is a shooting that happened just before 8:30 last night. According to some video surveillance footage that was viewed by our colleagues over at CTV News, there was a group of people, about 6 people or so, in fact, gathered around kind of the drive-in speaker where one order is at Tim Hortons. The video shows kind of an altercation happening, almost a bang, and that's seemingly when the shot was actually fired, and then a scatter of these people. Well, today the forensic team from Toronto Police spent the better part of the morning and afternoon here meticulously looking for as much DNA evidence as they could find. They looked through trash cans, picking up things like alcohol cans, coffee cups, and anything that could help identify who the suspect is. And then later, thanks to DNA evidence, put that suspect here at the scene of the crime. I spoke to a man earlier today who was inside the convenience store in this plaza at Eglinton and Cedar Drive last night when the shooting happened. Here's what he told me.
I think around 8:17, I think I just came and parked my car over there. And that time I went to the convenience store, then heard a noise of shooting. So I stayed inside only, I didn't come out because the noise was weird. So after a while, the people were running over here and there. Then all of a sudden, everything had calmed. Then nothing was happening. Maybe after half an hour or so, I seen an ambulance taking one guy.
So the plaza where we're standing is kind of the primary scene where police believe the altercation and subsequent shooting happened, but the victim was found just north over on Cedar Drive, where he ultimately collapsed after being shot at least once. Paramedics tended to him as best as they could. They rushed him to hospital, where tragically Jordan Thompson was pronounced dead from his injuries. Police are saying this was a targeted shooting. They haven't said what the motive was. They haven't said what led up to the altercation, but certainly they do say it was not a random attack. There's a lot of video surveillance cameras all around this plaza, dozens and dozens of them actually, in fact, and that footage will really help paint a picture for police as to exactly what happened in the moments leading up to and during this altercation. As for suspects, police have not said much just yet, but I have confirmed with my homicide sources there has not been an arrest made in this investigation yet. But here's what we heard from Detective Benson from the Homicide Squad earlier today.
There was a number of people here in the plaza. So the number of people that were involved, I can't actually speak to. We know that it was at least one. And once we have a little bit more time to review some of the video evidence, we'll have a better idea and we'll be able to release more information about that.
The only other key piece of information that police have revealed this afternoon, Lena and Bakari, is that they are now looking for multiple suspects that they believe are involved in this homicide. This is the city's latest homicide, the 15th this year, and it's certainly shaken this community in Scarborough, just as the one over the weekend shook the community at Jane and Weston, and last week over at Lawrence Heights as well. Back to you.
All right. Beatrice, thanks so much for this. A review is being launched after a 911 caller was reportedly put on hold after a 15-year-old boy was shot on the weekend.
Okay, this comes as Mayor Olivia Chow announced new funding to increase staffing for paramedic services in the city today. Right now, let's go to CP24's Phil Perkins, who joins us live from the newsroom with more on this, I guess, much-needed funding, Phil?
Change Bakari and Lena, around $52 million. The municipal and provincial government will be working on this to hire more frontline staff as well as more first responders, and that includes 331 more paramedics. And this is a big reason why. They've received around 350,000 emergency calls last year, and they're expecting that number to go up, and this is being conservative, around 3% every single year, and they need to continue to try to reduce the wait time between calling 911 and actually getting a first responder to the scene to try to help you out. And this comes on the heels of Friday night's shooting at Jane and Weston that Beatrice Vaisman talked about. A 15-year-old was shot. They were on the bench with some friends that evening, and then we understand from witnesses that they called 911 and they're basically put on hold for 15 minutes. They ended up actually hailing a car over, throwing the 15-year-old in the back of the car, going to a hospital that did not have a trauma center. That would have been the right place to go. Eventually, the victim sent to a hospital with a trauma center. They died due to their injuries. Now, during the newser, where Mayor Olivia Chow and a spokesperson with EMS were there talking about this new funding, they broke down the actual wait times and also just the problem itself of waiting for first responders when you need them the most.
Wait times have come down over the last year, but it's absolutely not good enough. I believe the call came in at 10:01 at night, and then it took 6 minutes and 42 seconds for the call to be answered, which is not acceptable. And the paramedics arrived at 10:11, which is 10 minutes. So within the 4 minutes, I guess, or 3 minutes after the call was received, the paramedics showed up. But as you know, the 911 call center is operated through the police.
Regarding that call, we have looked into it, and as soon as the call is received in our 911 dispatch center, we prioritize based on the nature of the call and the life-threatening nature. I can't speak to the whole process of that call specifically, but it's definitely something that we're reviewing.
So again, unfortunately, this new spending, the $52 million, won't bring this 15-year-old back, but they're hoping these 331 more paramedics hired from 2025 to 2028 will help shorten that time people have to wait, again, when they need first responders the most. Back to you.
Okay, CP24's Phil Perkins, live from the newsroom. Thanks, Phil. Right now, it's 5:07. Let's get a check on the evening commute with CP24's traffic specialist, Adjoa Nsiah-Yeboah. Adj.
Yeah, Bakar, you know what? We are dealing with volume delays, which is typical for a Tuesday afternoon if you're making your way out. The good news, just watched a problem quickly come and go, was on the 401 westbound. It was in the collectors just past the DVP. That's why you're seeing a bit of gap in traffic. It was a stall, had the right lane blocked, just cleared away moments ago. Then if you're on the eastbound side of things, no issues. Pretty heavy, though, from Dixie to Leslie. And then you're seeing some more delays as you make your way in towards about the Durham stretch. So really starts to slow down through here. Don Valley Parkway, it's a busy go anywhere approaching Bayview Bloor up to the 401. It still remains busy on the Gardner as you make your way out of the downtown core via those westbound lanes. We are dealing with a collision in Scarborough. It's blocking lanes on Lawrence just west of McCowan. I'll send it back to you both.
This CP24 traffic report is brought to you by 407 ETR. Enjoy the journey with a stress-free commute.
Thanks, Adjoa. Well, border agents at Pearson Airport have seized more than $400,000 worth of cocaine hidden in shoes.
The Canada Border Services Agency says that its agents arrested a traveler arriving from Guyana May 26 after 3.5 kilograms of cocaine was found using contraband detection technology, including X-rays and narcotic identification kits. The total value of the cocaine is more than $437,000. Now, although the flight originated in Guyana, the CBSA says it cannot disclose the traveler's citizenship because that's protected by the Privacy Act.
Well, the OPP announced the results of 2 major investigations that led to a historic seizure of fentanyl and other drugs.
Project Bionic and Project Golden resulted in 43.5 kilograms of fentanyl being seized. That works out to more than 435,000 potentially lethal street-level doses. So Project Bionic was a first-of-its-kind investigation for the OPP. It targeted an operation that used a dark web marketplace to ship a high volume of drugs across the country. So, in addition to fentanyl, police also seized large quantities of cocaine, methamphetamine, MDMA, heroin, ketamine, and prescription drugs, as well as gun and several vehicles. So 4 people from Ottawa, they're facing a total of 85 charges.
Project Golden was an 11-month investigation into a drug trafficking network affecting several communities across southwestern Ontario. Last month, police carried out search warrants at 16 locations between the London area and Toronto. They seized 38 kilos of meth and cocaine, 3 firearms, cash, and vehicles. The drugs have an estimated street value of $5.4 million. 15 people were arrested, and they face a combined 140 charges.
Drug trafficking networks are knowingly distributing drugs that cause harm and often kill. Between January 2016 and September 2024, there has been more than 50,000 apparent opiate-related deaths in Canada. At this time, there is no indication that the fentanyl seized through these investigations was destined for exportation to the United States or any other country.
Well, police say that the danger posed by illicit fentanyl is severe, and the prevalence of the drug is continuing to increase.
Well, Peel Regional Police have announced the biggest drug bust in the history of the service.
And for this, we're joined live by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan, for more insight into Project Pelican. So we just heard more and more about additional drug busts. Now this.
There is a lot of very good police work being done behind the scenes. A lot of these covert projects, intelligence-led, and this one from Peel Region is a great example as to the effectiveness of their police work. You're looking at the largest seizure in Peel history, 479 kilos of coke, valued at just under $47.9 million. 2 handguns seized, 9 people arrested, 35 charges laid. So this was a collaborative effort on both sides of the border, sharing of information over a years-long project, and they were able to successfully bring this project to an end by making these big seizures and these arrests. So it was great police work by Peel and its collaborative partners.
And Steve, this is a very different kind of investigative work that goes on behind the scenes. We're talking about undercover operations.
Very dangerous. Peel's police chief said at a press conference today that you're not going to see the undercovers because they can't show their faces. These are real undercover players. They are deep within these organizations. They're embedded within these organizations. They work sources on the street who are in those organizations. So they are brave, dedicated men and women who risk it every day to gather real information and feed it back to the investigators. And this is the results that you see.
And speaking of the results, there are, clearly multiple investigations like this happening at the same time. Taxpayer dollars being spent on this. Let's talk about the overall benefit for the community.
Well, you heard the deputy chief from Peel say today that every bit of cocaine that's taken off the streets, every ounce of coke or every gram of coke that's taken off the streets saves a life. The destruction and devastation that 500 kilos of coke can do when it's put out there for sale is beyond words with regards to the damage that it does to those that are addicted to cocaine, and then the battles that go on between the rival gangs that are trying to get your business by selling the cocaine on other people's turf.
Okay, Steve Ryan, live in studio. Thanks so much for this, Steve. Appreciate your time.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, defense lawyers for 5 former members of Canada's World Junior Hockey Team continued their final submissions at their sex assault trial in London, Ontario today. Okay, right now, we now know when the judge is expected to deliver her decision. Let's go back live to CTV's Heather Wright, who joins us from London. Okay, Heather, that is the big thing, hearing the decision from the judge.
Yeah, she told the court today that it will be July 24th, which gives her roughly 6 weeks to go over all of the evidence and testimony given at this trial, presuming that these closing arguments wrap up at the end of this week.
And Heather, give us a sense then of what happens in the days to come.
Well, today we've wrapped up day 2 of closing submissions. We heard from 3 of the 5 defense attorneys today, them representing Carter Hart, Alex Fermenton, and Dylan Dubé. And well, they all have different closing submissions that they are making to the judge. They are all touching on very similar themes. They are going after the credibility and reliability of the complainant in this case, and they are continuing to maintain that the sexual acts that their clients participated in 7 years ago were all consensual. Now, that goes counter to the story put forward by the complainant and the Crown, saying that she was coerced into performing these sexual acts. She was terrified, she was drunk. And so what we're hearing is this theme coming through with all of the submissions being made, that this was, in their submission to the judge, a consensual sexual act, and that we even heard from a number of attorneys today saying that, in fact, in their belief, the complainant changed their story over time, trying to accuse the players of committing these acts in order to kind of get over the fact that she may have made some questionable choices. So expect to hear those sort of themes continue as closing submissions from the defense are expected to wrap up tomorrow.
And Heather, we've already been through weeks of these proceedings. Give us an insight into actually how grueling these days are.
They're long days. I mean, they start at 10, they end around 4:30. There is a lunch and a couple of breaks in there, but you're sitting in a courtroom that's packed with journalists, family members, and of course the accused in this case. And the testimony and the closing submissions is at times very graphic, uncomfortable. And this is what, the complainant and the players and the lawyers and everyone involved, their families, have been, going through for the last 6 weeks, sort of sitting in this courtroom and listening to all of this testimony and giving testimony in the case of the complainant. And so we're getting a sense also about just how difficult it is to be trying a case like this that happened 7 years ago. It's, the facts of the case are that the people involved had been drinking, that their memories are obscured. And so this is a challenging case, but this is, again, the last likely week of submissions in this case. And then, as we talked about earlier, this will go to the judge, and we now know that she will deliver her verdicts at the end of July.
Heather Wright reporting live from London, Ontario. Thanks so much for this.
Thanks, Heather. Okay, right now it's 5:16, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Evacuation efforts continue in northern Ontario due to an out-of-control wildfire. We're going to have the latest on that situation next. Welcome back. Evacuation efforts have been continuing at Sandy Lake First Nation in northern Ontario as a wildfire burns through that area.
A Hercules military aircraft has been airlifting people out of the First Nation, where more than 2,000 people live. So tens of thousands of people across Canada have been fleeing from raging wildfires in recent weeks, with both Saskatchewan and Manitoba declaring provincial states of emergency.
Well, help is on the way for crews battling wildfires across the country. A 96-person Australian contingent of firefighters have been deployed to Canada for 5 weeks after a request from the Canadian Interagency Forest Fire Centre. Australian Prime Minister Anthony Albanese posted about the deployment online, writing, "When our mates need help, Australia is there."
Well, a state of emergency has been declared north of Vancouver due to an out-of-control wildfire. The district of Squamish says that the fire is threatening 3 neighborhoods, and an evacuation alert issued yesterday is expected to be expanded today. Residents have not been ordered to leave at this time.
Well, work is underway ahead of the removal of hoarding around a statue of Sir John A. Macdonald at Queen's Park.
And workers were cleaning the statue today. It was covered up in 2020 after being vandalized during protest over Macdonald's role in the developing residential school system. Well, that system saw Indigenous children taken from their families in an effort to assimilate them. And the Speaker of the Legislature, Donna Skelly, announced last month that the statue would be uncovered again, saying, "We cannot run away from our history."
It is 5:20, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Well, Pride Month is underway, and Canada's first queer musical festival is kicking off. We're going to take you to the Distillery District next.
Welcome back. Pride celebrations are in full swing across the city, and Canada's first queer music festival kicks off today at the Distillery District.
And that's where we find CP24's Melissa Duggan. Hey, Melissa.
Hey, Bakari and Lena. So it has already kicked off. Music underway on the stage behind me here. This is Q Musical, coming to the Distillery District for 5 days, starting right now. The music tonight running until 8 p.m. Lots of time to come check it all out. With the Distillery District now is joining us Michael Strathmore. A fun 5-day event you got here.
It's a fantastic 5-day event. Thanks so much for coming. So you're right, it's Q Musical kicking off today and going right through Saturday. And it's an incredible opportunity for members of the queer community to come on out, perform on stage, and really show a little bit of pride.
We did have Pinkity just performing on stage just moments ago. We heard a little Chapel Roan already, so we got the Pink Pony Club already down. What other kind of music can we expect?
Just like that, popular hits throughout the event. I saw Pink Pony Club myself. I have to admit, I was singing along with Pinkity Twinkity, and should be great music all week.
Terrific. And, you could also have something to theme, to sip while you are here for all of the music. Diego joining us now with what we can have a sip of here. This looks very colorful.
Hello. Sorry. So let me present you. This is a special feature this month for the Pride Month. So this is a board that we call Chase the Rainbow. It's a mix of 6 margaritas, 6 mini margaritas infused with Skittles. So basically just like we follow the traditional recipe from El Catrín, from the traditional margaritas with tequila El Jimador. And we just put the rainbow inside of it, the Skittles. We shake them and we just present it over here for you. The price of the board is $50, but if you just want to have a drink for yourself and just want to get one of the mini infused margaritas, it's going to be $10.
That's a fun twist. So this is at El Catrín, and it's always a good time to go there and have the guacamole because you make it right in front of us.
It's amazing. The guacamole is just part of the spectacle. You cannot miss it.
Thanks so much for that. Looks good. Skittle margaritas. Why not? The colors of the rainbow here. And there's even more coming to the Distillery District in the next few days, including this weekend, of course, Father's Day. A reminder, if you didn't know. What can people expect here over the weekend?
Well, selfishly, I'm a new father, so I'm really excited for this.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Thank you. So I happen to be a new father, but a horrible golfer. But that's okay. You don't need to be a great golfer because we have mini putt that's happening all throughout the distillery where we put out 9 courses for folks to come down and enjoy, pick up a putter, and just play for fun. And our friends at Amsterdam Brewery Company, they're actually giving away some raffle prizes as well.
Just really quick, too. You've got an event coming up for Canada Day you wanted to mention.
That's right. Yeah. So Canada Day is a huge push, including Up to Here, which is a cover band for the Tragically Hip, which is going to be happening on July 1st. We encourage everybody to come on down and check us out at thedistillerydistrict.com for more information.
So there's the website. It also lists a bunch of other events that are coming here. Of course, there's also a film festival that you could check out and this Q Musical that's running straight through until Saturday. For the full lineup, too, you can visit theqmusical.ca. Back to you.
All right, Melissa, thanks so much for this. It's 5:25, 22 degrees. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, we'll explain why the city's using goat power to manage invasive plants. That's what worries with Arda Zakarian.
Welcome back. For the second year in a row, the city is deploying a herd of goats to help manage an invasive species.
Let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian, who Breakworks Park for more.
That Arda. Is not Arda.
Arda, what happened?
Excuse me, my identity is covered by the goat, okay? So actually, maybe the goat that you were looking at is Duncan. Duncan the goat. He's here amongst the rest of his family. They are a herd. They travel all together, and part of goats in the city, he has about 150 goats, but here he brought 50 of them, and their only job to do is to do prescribed grazing, and that's what they're doing today. You mentioned invasive species, so that's really any wooded plants, so any trees and shrubs that's here in this meadow, that's what they are taking care of. That's what they are eating. They love that stuff. They love wood. Who knew that they love that more than anything else? With me right now is Alistair, Katrina, Elise, and Octavia. What do you think of the goats?
Oh, I think it's a really cool project. I think it's really good for the biodiversity. I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, and it's also really fun for everyone to be able to come. Like, I've been seeing people are bringing their kids. It's just a cool thing to bring the city together, and a really fun way to spend an afternoon. You don't often get to see goats up close like this.
No, especially not in the heart of the city.
Yeah.
I grew up in an area with prescribed burns, so I was familiar with different kind of ways to manage fields, and this is a totally new one that I'd never heard of. So I'm glad that you also get to do cool things like seeing goats.
Yes, in the city. What about you, Octavia?
Yeah, not to just yes and everyone else, but it's just kind of cool. Like, it's an interesting project, and it's a sort of neat little thing to just see, I guess, as well.
be a part of, just standing next to the goats. There's something really calming about it too. Yes. So yeah, it's really nice. It's actually, today is the first day. Tomorrow will be the second day. They're here for 2 days. So if you wanted to see the goats, you still can. One more full day of prescribed grazing for these goats. You can come to the Don Valley Brickworks anytime. Back to you.
Okay. CP24's Arda Zakarian. Thanks, Arda. It's now 22 degrees, 5:30. This is Live at 5.
Police have identified the city's latest murder victim as 33-year-old Jordan Thompson. He was fatally shot last night in Scarborough. It is the third fatal shooting in the last week.
Police have identified the city's latest murder victim as 33-year-old Jordan Thompson. He was fatally shot last night in Scarborough. It's the third fatal shooting in the last week.
Also tonight, Toronto's paramedic service is reviewing its response time to a fatal weekend shooting that left a 15-year-old boy dead. This after a 911 caller was on hold for almost 7 minutes. The mayor calls it unacceptable.
And Peel police are calling it the largest drug bust in the service's history. $50 million worth of cocaine off the streets a year after a long investigation. We're going to tell you more about Project Pelican tonight.
And if you see a herd of goats in the city this weekend, don't be alarmed. Here's why. The animals have been assigned the task of helping manage an invasive species. Our Arda Zakarian is working on this.
This is Live at 5.
Good evening, and thank you for joining us. I'm Lena Latifat.
I'm Bakari Savage. A review is being launched after a 911 caller was reportedly put on hold after a 15-year-old boy was shot over the weekend.
This comes as Mayor Olivia Chow announced new funding to increase staffing for paramedic services in the city today. Let's bring in CP24's Phil Perkins to break this down. Mayor Chow says this is unacceptable, Phil.
Absolutely. This is coming from a witness from June 6th. That was on Friday. Jane, just south of Weston, where a 15-year-old was shot and eventually died due to their injuries. And there are many people in the area trying to help this young man. And one of the witnesses telling CTV News that they called 911 and were waiting for 15 minutes. They eventually actually hailed a car. They had the 15-year-old put in the back seat. They went to a hospital. They did not have a trauma center, unfortunately. The 15-year-old was then transferred to the appropriate facility. Unfortunately, they succumbed to their injuries. Now, we did hear from Mayor Olivia Chow and a representative from EMS about the actual facts here, how long they actually did wait. Here's what they had to say, and then we'll talk about the initiatives the city is making to try to make sure that wait times do not go up.
Wait times have come down over the last year, but it's absolutely not good enough. I believe the call came in at 10:01 at night, and then it took 6 minutes and 42 seconds for the call to be answered, which is not acceptable. And the paramedics arrived at 10:11, which is 10 minutes. So within the 4 minutes, I guess, or 3 minutes after the call was received, the paramedics showed up. But as you know, the 911 call center is operated through the police.
Regarding that call, we have looked into it, and as soon as the call is received in our 911 dispatch center, we prioritize based on the nature of the call and the life-threatening nature. I can't speak to the whole process of that call specifically, but it's definitely something that we're reviewing.
And with that, all this came during an announcement today that the municipal government, working with the provincial government as well, spending $52 million to look to hire more frontline staff and first responders between 2025 and 2028. And that includes hiring 331 more paramedics. And the reason is 350,000 emergency calls were made last year. And reports indicate that that number is going to go up 3% every single year. So this announcement coming, unfortunately, in the last week where we've received multiple shootings across the city. Back to you.
All right, Phil Perkins live in our newsroom. Thanks, Phil. A deadly shooting in Scarborough is the city's third in less than a week. It happened last night in the Eglinton Avenue and Markham Road area, and we are now learning more about the victim.
Okay, let's go live to CP24's Beatrice Vaisman, continuing our coverage. Beatrice.
Bakari and Lena, let's put up a photograph of the victim. It was released by police and the homicide squad just before 5 o'clock. His name is Jordan Thompson. He is 33 years old, and he is the latest person to be shot dead here in our city. Homicide number 15 in Toronto, shot and killed last night here just before 8:30 in the Eglinton Avenue East and Cedar Drive area. This is a situation that all unfolded here in this plaza behind me. According to video surveillance footage that our colleagues over at CTV News were able to view, Lena and Bakari, it showed about half a dozen people standing next to the speaker where one typically drives up and orders from a Tim Hortons drive-through. They were standing there when all of a sudden there was some kind of altercation, and then shortly after that they all scattered. It's believed to be in that moment that the shooting actually happened. The detective in charge of this homicide case spoke to reporters earlier this morning saying the victim suffered one single gunshot wound. He actually made his way north over on Cedar Drive, collapsing over on the sidewalk there. When paramedics arrived, they tended to him. They rushed him to hospital, where unfortunately he was pronounced dead from the injuries that he suffered from this gunshot wound. Police say that they have multiple suspects that they're looking for. I've confirmed with the homicide squad source that I have that no arrests have been made yet, but certainly police spent the entire morning and early afternoon canvassing this area. Not only the forensic investigators looking for DNA evidence everywhere, from the trash cans to the road to the grassy patches around this plaza, but they were also canvassing the area, going business to business, getting various video surveillance camera footage, and there is a lot of video surveillance camera footage to be had from this area. But here's a bit of what we heard from the detective in charge of this case. Again, not divulging much about suspects, but talking about the fact that it was busy out here last night. There were lots of people around. Listen.
At this point, it's too early for us to be releasing suspect information. As soon as we have suspect information, we'll get it out to the public. But at this point, suspect descriptions and suspect information, vehicle information, that sort of thing, it's too early for us to start releasing that. We haven't had a chance to even dive into all of that yet.
And again, about the victim, 33 years old. His name is Jordan Thompson. We heard from the homicide detective. He is believed to be from this area. One thing I've been able to confirm from various sources as well, Lena and Bakari, is that the victim was previously known to police, is what my sources tell me. He's been convicted for petty crimes in the past, but back in 2020, along with 2013, he was wanted multiple times for various things like aggravated assault with a weapon, and weapons dangerous as well. But certainly police have not said what the motive was for this just awful, deadly shooting here last night. It has shaken this community here in Scarborough for sure. Back to you.
All right, Beatrice Faisman working on this story. Thanks so much, Beatrice. Let's switch gears now. It's 5:39, sitting about 22 degrees, feeling more like 23 out there. Adjo NCIA has your latest traffic update. Do you have good news? Do you have bad news?
You know what? It's a mixed bag. I have a good news in the sense that I'm not spotting any major problems, but definitely major delays, Lena, that are impacting the drive for commuters that are trying to make their way home. So we'll start on the Gardiner westbound as you try to get out of the downtown core. It's virtually a dead stop as you try to leave the downtown core, starting from Parliament out to Park Lawn. Eastbound also pretty slow over the Humber as you head into the downtown core. Again, lane restrictions because of continued long-term road work. It's the culprit. Northbound on the Don Valley Parkway remains up pretty busy, approaching a Bayview Bloor right on through to the 401. And same situation on the 401. It's been a slow go right across the top of the city, but at least at this point, no live lane issues. There are problems that I can't see where we do have a problem. It's on the southbound 400 at the start of the ramp that takes you to Major Mac. Crews on scene of a stalled vehicle that is blocking the right lane. I'll send it back to you both.
All right, thanks, Atch. It's 5:40, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, why the Toronto Region Board of Trade is concerned about the city's economic direction. We're taking a closer look at a new study.
And these drugs came from south of the border and were destined right here into Peel, the Greater Toronto Area, and other communities in Canada. And what they do is represent secondary and tertiary criminal acts, vulnerabilities, and harm that damage our communities right across Ontario and beyond.
Okay, so that was Chief Nish with Peel Regional Police. This was part of the announcement the biggest drug bust in the history of the police service.
Yeah, for a closer look at this, we're joined live by CP24's crime analyst, Steve Ryan. You've got more insight into Project Pelican, and this was a massive drug bust, a year-long investigation, and it took a number of police services working together, Steve.
Yeah, that's right. The project started last June, and it was a collaborative effort on both sides of the border. It's intelligence-led, so they're constantly getting intel, sharing that intelligence with other police services, law enforcement agencies. And in this particular case, they were able to seize 479 kilos of coke, the street value of $47.9 million. 2 guns were seized, 9 people arrested, and 35 charges laid. So this was some terrific police work. The chief in Peel Region acknowledged the work of his undercovers today, saying that this work was they were very instrumental in gathering a lot of this intel, and he had said that the undercovers are so undercover that you couldn't see them at this press conference because they couldn't show their faces. That's how deep and dangerous the type of work is that these UCs do.
I say we're talking about a year-long investigation.
Yeah, which always surprises me, and I say this all the time. You've got a year-long investigation. You know the old saying, loose lips sink ships. All it takes is one investigator on either side of the border on any of those law enforcement agencies involved to inadvertently let something out of the bag that this is what we're doing. And instantly, that project can go south, and those UCs can be put in complete danger as well. It never happened. So it goes to the dedication and to the professionalism of the men and women who are involved in this type of work. They realize it's about life and death. It's serious stuff, and this is the end result.
And Steve, we heard from the chief today talking about how this is going to impact organized crime.
$50 million is a kick in the pants when it comes to any organized crime. So if this doesn't put them out of business, it certainly will mitigate their effectiveness because they're down $50 million that they were banking on, and that money is now gone poof.
All right, CP24's crime analyst Steve Ryan with more on Project Pelican. Thanks, Steve.
Thanks, Steve.
Well, the Toronto Region Board of Trade is calling on government to take action on economic growth after a new poll shows that residents may be losing confidence in the city's direction.
Let's bring in CP24's Andrew Brennan for a closer look at this. Andrew, tell us about some of the concerns.
Well, Lena Bakari, some of the big concerns here are some that I think we've been talking about in economic terms, but also in just inconvenience and otherwise unaffordable terms. Big one. 2/3 of people, according to this poll that was done by Ipsos for the Region's Board of Trade, I should say that the availability and cost of housing is one of the biggest drivers and also problems when it comes to our economic outlook. Now, looking at a survey like this, the thing that needs to really be said is these are people's impressions of the economy. That's not necessarily a dictation of where the economy is. But if you've been following, say, the tariff situation south of the border and what it's done to markets, a lot of people's feelings very much dictate where and how money is spent. So we have been asking in response to the Board of Trade saying ultimately that government needs to cut some red tape and do more in terms of tax breaks and the like for businesses to help bolster the local economies. We each asked the City of Toronto's General Manager for Economic Development what the city's doing.
The city has a long-term financial strategy that has been working to maximize revenues and the efficiency of operations and has led to significant relief in the form of a new deal with the province. That has also meant that we've been able to improve our credit rating, which in turn has allowed us to borrow money at lower cost, all of which is advantageous to the city's financial operations.
And in terms of those feelings I mentioned before, Lena Bakari, about 4 in 10 Torontonians, according to this survey, say the economy is going in the wrong direction. And about 3 in 10, so statistically not a lot less, but still a significant amount, say that the city and our economy is going in the right direction. Back to you.
All right, Andrew Brennan reporting live from our newsroom. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, right now it is 5:48, 22 degrees. This is Live at 5.
Coming up, a shooting at a school in Austria appears to be the deadliest attack in the country's post-war history. We're going to have more coming up. Welcome back. A shooting at a school in Austria appears to be the deadliest attack in that country's post-war history.
And police in the city of Graz say a 21-year-old former student killed 10 people at a high school before taking his own life. 12 others were wounded. There's no word on a motive, but police say that the gunman appeared to have legally owned the 2 guns that he had. Austria's chancellor has declared 3 days of national mourning. Well, Canada is joining the UK, Norway, Australia, and New Zealand in sanctioning 2 Israeli cabinet ministers.
Yeah, Israeli National Security Minister Itamar Ben-Gvir on the left and Finance Minister Bezalel Smotrich on the right are accused of pushing extremist rhetoric and inciting violence against Palestinians. They've called for the displacement of Palestinians in the West Bank and the expansion of Israeli settlements. The sanctions ban the pair from entering Canada and prevent Canadians from doing business with them.
These 2 individuals promoted extremist settler violence, and it has to stop. I will add, they are members of Netanyahu's government. They are not members of his party, but rather coalition partners from far-right parties.
And the United States has condemned Canada and 4 other countries for imposing sanctions on 2 Israeli cabinet ministers.
Well, longtime broadcaster Juliette Powell has died.
Juliette Powell was a familiar face to many of us who worked at 299 Queen Street West in the 90s. This is where she was a Much Music VJ, a host on Electric Circus, and even in the early days of CP24. So she grew up in Quebec. That's where she was a host on Musique Plus. She was also crowned the first Black Miss Canada. That was in 1989. Juliette went on to start her own media company and became the founder of a consultancy firm, Kleiner Powell International. Juliette Powell was 54.
This hits home for so many of our colleagues, and we'll be thinking of Juliette and her family. It's 5:53, 22 degrees now. You're watching Live at 5.
And coming up, we'll explain why the city's using goat power to manage invasive plants. Well, for the second year in a row, the city's deploying a herd of goats to help manage an invasive species. Yes, goats.
Yes, goats. Let's go live to CP24's Arda Zakarian at the Don Valley for more on this. Okay, who are we looking at now?
Okay, this guy, we'll have to ask the expert. Ian is the one that owns these goats. Who is this person? Does it have a name, this goat?
This goat we got from the sanctuary. I'm not sure of his name, but it's on the website, goathaven.ca.
Okay, so he does have a name.
He does. I don't remember now.
So we can't just name the goat now.
Well, you could change his name.
Maybe.
If you like him.
Oh, this one is
Blizzard. And this is Blizzard. Blizzard is very, very friendly. Likes to hang around with Ian and I.
Oh, so sweet. I mean, all of this goat is really a herd. Essentially, there are multiple families here.
Absolutely. Yeah. So they're kept with their family groups when they want to graze. And Ian brings them in from Goats in the City. And it's part of his herd. It's not his whole herd, but they come in to be with their family groups. And they're all just hanging out doing what they normally do.
And we have 50 goats here. And they have a purpose being here. What's their mission?
Yeah, so our main focus here is to improve habitat diversity and species diversity by reducing invasive species and woody vegetation encroachment that threatens the meadow and how healthy it is.
I loved there was a moment where you brought down the big branch from the tree and all the goats just came rushing towards you.
Yeah, so one of the great things about having big goats is that they can often do that on their own. Once it gets past the point where it's too tall for them, we can bring them down for them and then they can start defoliating. But they'll also eat the bark, which helps to kill the tree that we don't want.
And of course, keeping the trees at bay means that the meadow can still be a meadow.
Exactly. If we don't manage it, the trees and invasive species can take over and then we wouldn't have a meadow habitat anymore. So it does have to be maintained.
Cheryl, Ian, thank you. I'm just going to go over to this group who've been watching the goats very closely, observing them. So what is it like for you guys to watch the goats?
I think it's an awesome way to get people down here and to get people out and looking at goats. I mean, thank God it's goats instead of, machinery or pesticides removing all these weeds.
Yeah. What do you think of the goats?
I think they're really cool, and I think it's a really interesting way to learn about the different species, and I think these guys have also done a really great job of educating everyone who's gone by.
Absolutely. Thank you guys so much. Appreciate it. So these goats are going to be here today and also tomorrow. They have a lot of work to do still to make sure that this area remains a meadow. That's very important. And so they're so cute. You can see the baby goats. I think the goat that you're looking at, that's 1 month old right there, right? Right, Ian, that goat? The little one is a 1 month old baby goat. I mean, you can't get cuter than that. I'm going to send it back to you in the studio where it's less cute. I mean, you guys are cute too, but
you can't beat that level of cuteness. That's for sure.
Yeah, too bad we can't get up close and personal and touch them. So.
All right, Arda Zakarian reporting live from the Don Valley Brickworks Park with more on this. They've got a big job to do, those goats.
All right, it's 5:59, 22 degrees. This is Toronto's Breaking News, CP24.
Thanks so much for watching and for joining us. CTV News at 6 is coming up next.